We have our hero, our idea, and our genre, but if we start writing straight away, we might end up lost or run out of ideas, and the resulting story might be confusing or just boring. So how do we focus our writing and make sure that we're taking the viewer on a journey? Now, the answer is structure. In this episode, we're going to hear about how structure can help you to outline your story, to build in some drama, and also problem solve your story. And lastly, how structure can help you to analyze other movies and build your craft as a storyteller. You'll also hear how my story is progressing too. Aristotle found that a good story has a distinct beginning, middle, and end. Now, there's many different ways of telling a story, but if you pick up any screenwriting book, you'll no doubt hear about the 3-act structure. Act 1 is the setup, Act 2 is the conflict, and Act 3 is the resolution. Now, in Act 1, we introduce our characters and our world. In Act 2, we get stuck into the main problem, which is the topic of the movie. And in Act 3, we wrap up and draw out our theme. Act 2 is often split into 2 parts, with the midpoint of the movie sending the story off in a completely different direction. For example, in Star Wars, we know that Luke wants to get off the planet, but he's unwilling to go on the adventure with Obi-Wan until he finds out that his aunt and uncle have been killed. And that's the inciting incident that sends us off on the journey to Alderaan. The midpoint of the movie is when they get to Alderaan only to find it's been blown up and they get captured by the Death Star. They really go into the belly of the beast, so to speak. The climax of that part of the movie is when they escape from the Death Star and get the plans to the Rebel Alliance. And then the finale of the movie is about going back and destroying the Death Star and Luke's transformation to becoming a hero. Getting back to Blake Snyder and Save the Cat, he's created his own beat sheet with 15 different steps in it. It's a lot more prescriptive about how to map the stages of a story onto the actual physical script. A typical movie is 2 hours long, and a rule of thumb suggests that for each 1 minute of screen time, there's 1 page of a screenplay. So that would mean our typical screenplay should be around 120 pages in screenplay format. Blake Snyder makes that 110. So step 1 in his process is the opening image of the movie on page 1. And step 15 of the process is the final image of the movie on page 110 of our screenplay. Not surprisingly, the midpoint of our movie comes at page 55 in our script. And that's step 9 of his process. And that's preceded and followed by the 2-act breaks in the movie. So our job now is to outline our story idea into the 15 steps of Blake Snyder's beat sheet process. And then later on in the next stage, we'll convert those into the 40-odd scenes that are in a movie. Now, I actually found this process quite challenging, but actually very useful in fleshing out my story and identifying some gaps that I had along the way. And this is a great way, just on a single page, to test your story, understand whether it works and whether it flows and whether it's interesting, and ultimately whether it's the story that you want to tell. Version 1 of my story idea was actually quite a light-hearted, on the road in Hong Kong type idea. In version 2, a death was added in the middle of the movie to allow me to dramatize some more themes and explore some other topics, I think, to make it a more complex and hopefully more interesting movie. But as I've been going through this process, I'm really wondering now, what sort of movie do I want to make and what sort of movie do I really want to see ultimately at the end of that? So to resolve my dilemma, I'm actually going to create 2 beat sheets. The first for the murder mystery in Hong Kong type idea, and the second for a more conventional and laid-back road movie. Then I'm going to see which one I like best and which one I want to take into the next phase, which is storyboarding for the movie. I'd actually planned to start writing on Monday the 11th of March. And this extra process here and this delay is going to really put pressure on the writing process, but I think I can still make it. And actually getting the story structure right will help in that and ultimately deliver the sort of product that I can be proud of. So join me next time where you hear the outcome of my dilemma and we'll talk about storyboarding. Until then, all the best.